Let me tell you something commendable that the president of Tanzania did before she got embroiled in this election fiasco, where she was accused of human rights violations and the like. Upon realizing that the livelihood of her citizens, Tanzanians, were threatened, and livelihoods, I mean informal trade businesses like your tuckshops and informal trading, she immediately swung into action. She acted and banished foreigners from doing informal trading or running a tuckshop business. She did not ask herself what the headlines were going to be the next day. She didn't ask herself what international human rights organizations were going to say. She understood one thing, that as the president of Tanzania, the welfare of Tanzanians came first. Not that she was acting against any other person, or she was being xenophobic or hateful. She was just doing what her position as the state president demanded of her to do. That is to prioritize the welfare of Tanzanians. This is something that is foreign to the ANC government. And let me tell you what I'm talking about. Recently, township businesses in Gauteng have just celebrated generating a revenue of 1 billion rands through a partnership involving the Gauteng Department of Economic Development as well as Uber Eats. Sounds like a success story, right? But here is the uncomfortable truth. When we dig deeper, we find that in this so-called success story, South Africans are still fighting for recognition in their own job market. Employment, I mean. Let's look at the celebration versus the reality. MEC Lebogang Maile proudly announced the milestone highlighting township entrepreneurs entering the digital economy. But then came the statement, I think it came from the Uber Eats official responsible for Southern Africa. I just forgot the name. The story, by the way, was on IOL, Pretoria News. I think they used to be, and various media. The Uber Eats official then made this disturbing statement, among all the other beautiful things that she said. There was fair representation. This time, there was fair representation of South Africans. Actually, let me rephrase. There was a fair representation between foreigners and South Africans. Let that sink in. Come to think of it. How can we celebrate fair representation of South Africans in South Africa? Why is it even necessary to celebrate that South Africans were employed in their own country? And what is troubling is that she didn't provide the specifics of what she meant by fair representation. It could easily mean 40% South African, 60% foreigners, or worse, as it's always the case in sectors like your delivery, e-commerce, delivery space, construction, hospitality and tourism, the restaurant business, and the like. South Africans are in a minority in those sectors. This is not an exception. It's a trend that has been going on for a very long time. But when you hear people confessing, owning up that we haven't been employing South Africans and celebrating the fact that South Africans are being employed, it's quite problematic. And let's look at the bigger problem. Delivery driving is not a scarce skill. It doesn't require specialized training. Yet South Africans are competing with foreigners for these opportunities. This is not an isolated case, I must say. You know it very well. I've named the sectors. If you look at South Africa, our ranking on the African continent, I'm not talking about globally. Well, it is well known that globally we're one of the country with the highest rate of unemployment. But even on the continent, South Africa ranks very poorly as far as unemployment is concerned. Yet, jobs that are created here in South Africa are shared across the continent instead of prioritizing citizens. I'm not saying you can't employ Africans, fellow Africans. They need to be employed, but South Africans have to come first. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. We invested our sweat equity, our forebears invested their sweat equity in building this country. They've paid taxes. Although there are some who would like to tell us that black people haven't been paying taxes, which is strange. Isn't sweat equity, exploit labor that was exploitative labor, sweat equity? Isn't VAT, GST then? Was it not tax? All those kind of things. I don't even want to venture into those things. We don't have to enter into argument comparing regarding this, because these arguments are not being heard in Tanzania. They're not being heard in neighboring countries. Because those presidents, and I commend them, they know how to run. They are responsible. They are responsible. They are serious leaders. In South Africa, whilst Tanzania made sure that they ring-fenced the informal retail sector for their citizens, in South Africa the story is the opposite. It's foreign dominated. We have seen that during the registration of tuckshops, when during the event when some children died from eating contaminated food items from foreign owned tuckshops. Other African governments prioritize their citizens for non-specialized jobs. Why doesn't South Africa do the same? Does the ANC understand that they are a government for South Africans, not for the whole world? Because they act like a global kind of supranational government of sorts. The ANC government seems to be indifferent to prioritizing South Africans. Are they governing us, South Africans, or the entire continent, or the whole world? The ANC government is bullied by leaders on the continent who deprive their citizens human rights in those countries. But once those citizens are in South Africa, the very same leaders who deprived them come here, they champion the rights that they failed to provide to them in their own countries. They champion them because they use our leaders to do their bidding, to do whatever they want them to do. They use them to do what they fail and are unwilling to do. I'm not talking about providing for welfare like South Africa. I know that there are economic disparities. I'm even talking about basic human rights. I've got friends from DRC. I talk to these people. They'll tell you that you are even lucky to be able to criticize the government. If you criticize the government in my country, you'll know you won't last for a week. You are gone. But those same people who victimize, who disappear their own citizens just for speaking out, they come and champion here in South Africa because they know we have got a leadership that is pliable, we have got a leadership that is not patriotic, a leadership that doesn't really care much about South Africans. Because remember, all that we are looking for, our leaders already have. Are you looking for a farm? They already have it. Are you looking for a house? They already have a number of mansions. Are you talking about employment? They don't even feel our pain because they are surrounded by cousins, by brothers, by relatives who are employed. They are surrounded by tenderpreneurs who get tenders at all costs, irrespective of whether the road project is abandoned, irrespective of whether they cripple Tembisa Hospital and leave it without medication and basic infrastructure. So they cannot relate when South Africans talk the way I do to say, you guys have lost the plot. Or we simply have got a very unpatriotic government. A government that doesn't appreciate that they have been voted by South Africans. They are first answerable to South Africans, not any other person. It's as simple as that. And all the other presidents in Africa, they understand that. So my final message to you is we've got the local government elections around the corner. Because it's hopeless. I don't think that the ANC government will ever get it. They don't get it. They don't get it. They'll never get it. They failed to get it for 30 years that they represent South Africans. So I want to appeal to you to remember this when you go to vote. Vote for a government that will represent South Africa. A government that will strengthen South Africa so that South Africa is able to strengthen Africa. Not a government that will destroy South Africa, cause a mess everywhere, and cripple South Africa from contributing to Africa. You don't contribute to Africa by crippling South Africa, by mismanaging the resources of South Africa, opening up resources for everyone, without even knowing the numbers of the, just allowing, if you just say everyone should come, you've got a party and you say everyone should come, you don't know the number that is going to come. So you're going to run short, you're going to strain the budget. That's why everything is collapsing, because this government doesn't seem to care. They don't seem to understand that there's got to be a budget. And when you budget, you don't only budget the finances. You must budget, you must know how many people you want in the country, what kind of people you want in the country, who to prioritize. As it is, they are incentivizing this illegal immigration because they are opening up the schools. As we speak now, South Africa, there are not enough places in universities. There are not enough places at school, in schools. You will tell me that there are vocational technical training colleges, but even if they are there, South Africans still need to have a choice. They must make an informed choice that I want to go to a technical college, I want to go to a university. That option should be there. We shouldn't have one institution receiving 500,000 applications for 10,000 places. And the South African government doesn't get this thing. You cannot just run a country through wishful thinking that the doors of learning shall be open to everyone. Everything shall be open to everyone. There still needs to be a budget. Otherwise, you are you're driving the country into an abyss, head first. That's why we say, I doubt that this government was ever ready to govern. They were not ready to govern because they don't seem to have a clue. Let me know what you think. This is The Voice in the Wilderness. This is Rendan. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about this subject.